Hello, is my voice perfectly audible? Are you able to hear me well? Yeah, hello. Is everyone able to hear me well? Racy, Prabha, Kelvin, Sanobar, Asya, Satish, Mohammed Irshad. Okay, so how you people are doing today? Okay, okay, fine. I'm doing very well. So, we, for most of all, what you have to do, we are going to continue with the same chapter we were doing yesterday. But before that, I want you to write short notes on the type of conflicts we have studied yesterday. Okay? Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? You have to write short notes on the types of conflicts we have studied today. Yeah. Okay. Just write it down, and once you are done with it, just let me know. Fine, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? Mohammed Irshad, Satish, Asya, Sanobar, Kelvin, Prabhavati, Resi, Fatima, Sandeep, Sarfaraz. So please write down about the types of conflicts we have studied yesterday. And once you are done with that, just let me know. We're going to proceed ahead with the chapter we were doing yesterday. Yeah, please write it down. Is everyone writing it or not? No, you just don't have to write the names, okay? You have to define it, what it is. Everyone out there. fast. Sunil, we have learned about various types of conflicts yesterday. So I have asked the students to write about it, and then we are going to proceed ahead with it. Okay? Is it clear? Just finish it fast. 2 minutes to go. Just finish it in 2 minutes. Okay, fine. Now, let's proceed ahead with it. Okay, the process of conflict. I hope the people are able to see the board properly. Are you able to see the board properly? Yeah. Alright. Yes. You have just observed that beginning within an individual, conflict can be found on several levels. So conflict, starts within us, right? The nature of interpersonal conflict is of very high significance, and the knowledge of mechanism available to resolve it is immensely important in improving personal effectiveness, right? See, if there is a conflict within, obviously you are going to fall in conflict with others too, right? Right? Yeah. So it has to be resolved, and you should know how it can be resolved. Okay. Yeah. In this unit, however, our focus will be on interpersonal conflict, intra-group and intergroup conflicts, as these types directly influence effectiveness of an organization. For a conflict to exist, it must be perceived by the parties to it. If no one is aware of a conflict, then it is generally agreed that no conflict exists. So, see, when the conflict exists, everyone knows about it, right? Right? Everyone knows about it, right? Yeah. And if no one knows about it, then it means it doesn't exist. Okay? Does a merely awareness of opposing goals or difference of options or antagonistic feelings imply that there is a conflict? So how conflict emerges? If the goals are opposing, if there are differences in opinion, right, feelings are opposite, right, so obviously it is going to give birth to a conflict. It would be easier for you to understand conflict if you view it as a dynamic process, which includes antecedent, conditions, cognitive states, affective states, and conflicting behaviors. Have a look at the figure 1 on the conflict process, and you will be able to describe and analyze conflict between two parties, individuals, groups, or organizations in chain of episodes which tends to fall in sequence. Okay. So as you can see it in this diagram, what happens is this. Potential antagonism. What does that mean when we say antagonism? Potential antagonism. What does that mean? What is antagonism? Opposition, right? Opposition. Yeah, opposition. Okay. Cognition and personalization. Cognition means the things we can see. Okay. And personally we see what we see. Okay. So first of all, the differences, we'll see differences, difference of opinion will be there. Then we'll see it. Conflict, handling, behavior. Then once we realize there is a conflict, our behavior changes, right? If I'm having a conflict with someone, obviously my behavior towards him won't be up to the mark, right? Now, potential antagonism. The first stage is the presence of antecedent conditions that create opportunities for the antecedent. What does that mean? Antecedent. What does that mean? Preceding condition. Okay. Preceding condition. The antecedent. Okay. So if the conditions are there. Okay. If situation is there which is giving rise to conflict, then only something must act as a precursor for conflict to arise. Right, everyone? Beforehand. Correct. Right. Something must act as a precursor for the conflict to arise, right? Right, everyone? Only if you are responding, others are sitting idle. Why? Please be prompt in your replies. Just hold on for a second. Yeah. Any new attendees in class today? I guess Kiran is the new attendee in class today. And Fatima was not there yesterday. Yeah. Okay, so Kiran, welcome to the class. I would request you to be regular in class, okay, so that your attendance is not being affected, okay, and you can take the advantage of live classes. For the classes you have missed, you can see the recording. It is very much available in our portal, alright. And if at any point of time you are not able to follow anything, you can raise your hands or you can post your queries in the chat box. Yeah. Okay. Is this much clear to everyone? They need not necessarily lead to conflict and may be present in the absence of conflict as well. You may refer to this stage as the source of conflict. Okay. And in the later section, we shall have a fuller discussion on these antecedent conditions which might prepare the ground for the onset of the second stage. So what all conditions can give rise to, what all conditions can act as a precursor to, fight? Can you give me an example? What all conditions can give rise to a, fight? I'm saying, can you give me an example? See, there must be, if a conflict has to arise, okay? If the conflict arises, there's something must act as a precursor, right? See, it is similar to anger, okay? When I will do something which is going to make someone angry, then only he is going to get angry, he or she, right? So similarly, when it comes to conflict, there must be some reason behind it. So what all things can act as a reason for a conflict to arise? This is my question. Give me an example. Okay, okay. Sunil is saying not obeying the rules. Difference of opinion could be the reason for the same, right? Yeah, yeah. If people are not supportive, okay? And if one is very egoistic and he doesn't listen to anyone, that can give rise to a conflict, right? So you can even have conflict with the at office, like with the management. So they might not be listening to your demands. In that case, you're going to have conflict with them, right? So reasons could be, infinite, right, everyone? Now, some of these antecedent conditions which shall discuss refer to scarcity of resources. Sometimes resources are limited, so everybody is striving for it. Okay, so it may result in a conflict. Heterogeneity of members and diversity of goals, values, perception. See, everything has got different dimensions. My perception could be different, your perception could be different, so it may give rise to a conflict. Okay, right. Okay, so and diversity of goals, values, perception, degree of dependence between groups, insufficient exchange of information. See, if the exchange of information is not up to the mark, it may result in a conflict, right? Right? Right, everyone? Yeah. Okay. The antecedent conditions may or may not lead to conflict. Sometimes, rather than falling into conflict, people, prefer to stay quiet, right? They must be perceived as threatening if conflict is to develop. The situation may be ignored if it is seen as minimally threatening. Moreover, if a conflict is perceived, it does not mean that it is personalized. However, if feelings are generated, they tend to influence perception of the conflict. It is at the felt level when an individual becomes emotionally involved. And see, if I'm feeling the conflict, right? So if I'm going to feel it at the end, okay. So see, if I'm going to feel it, on individually, then only, I'm going to get involved in that, right? Okay. The situation may be ignored if it is seen as minimally threatening. Moreover, if a conflict is perceived, does not mean that it is personalized. So this we have. Okay. However, feelings are generated. They tend to influence perception of the conflict. It is at felt level when an individual becomes emotionally involved and parties experience feeling of threat, hostility, fear of mistrust. Now, conflictive and conflict management behavior. Manifest behavior is the action resulting from a perceived or conflict. See, if I am in conflict with you, my behavior is going to change, right? Right? At this stage, a conscious attempt is made by one party to block the goal achievement of the other party. So if I am in conflict with you, suppose you are my team member, okay, then I will never support you, right? Such behavior may range from subtle, indirect, and highly controlled form of interference to form open forms of aggressive behavior like strike, riots, and war, right? Right? Okay. Most conflict handling behaviors are displayed in several forms like resignation, okay, and withdrawal, appeasement, and compromise, confrontation, and collaboration. See, if I am in a conflict with my organization, what am I going to do? No, but suppose if I am in conflict with my group members, what am I going to do? Either I will have to follow the group norms, okay, I'll have to end up that fight, conflict, or either I'll have to leave because nobody is going to support me, right? Right? So conflict may lead to more serious things like someone may resign, they might not help each other. So it may lead to serious things, right? And even aggressive behaviors, right? The behaviors are often referred to as conflict management styles and stems from the strategies of conflict stimulation or conflict resolution. In a later section, we shall discuss in greater detail some of these methods of conflict management. So what is conflict management? Can anyone tell me? What is conflict management? Can you hear me well? Okay. Is my voice okay? Okay. Now, see, let's talk about conflict management, okay? Wherever there are people, there will always be a conflict. So see, a lot of people work in an organization together, okay? So they have different roles, they have different goals, and sometimes there might be a difference of opinion. In that case, so you just cannot rule out the possibility of conflict, right? Managers have to deal with conflict in the workplace every day, right? Yeah. Okay. So conflict management is the practice of being able to identify and handle conflict sensibly. Because if the conflicts are not being handled sensibly, it may lead to disastrous things, right? Fairly and efficiently. Since conflicts in a business are natural parts of the workplace, it is important that there are people who understand conflicts and know how to resolve them. Because if it is not resolved initially, then it may take a disastrous shape, right? So see, if the conflict is not being handled, what is going to happen? What are the serious effects of not resolving conflict initially? What can be the most serious impact of that if you are not able to resolve conflict initially? Give me an example, please. If it is not being handled, what is going to happen? It's okay, Darshana. It's okay. We are continuing. You were not there yesterday, I guess, right? See, if the conflict is not resolved initially, what can be the serious consequences of it? Disorganization, fight, what else? What else? Yeah, fight, right, strike, anything, right? Okay, yeah, correct. It can spoil the teamwork, correct? Because nobody is going to support. Okay, so yes, so it has to be resolved. This is important in today's market more than ever. Everyone is striving to show how valuable they are to the company they work for, and at times this can lead to disputes with other members of the team. Everybody, tries to prove themselves being a team member. So because of this also, they may have disputes with other team members. Fine. So this is what conflict management is. I'm going to discuss the conflict management styles later on. Let's switch back to what we were doing. Fine. Is this much clear to everyone? Do you have any questions for me? Anyone out there? Any questions so far? Please let me know. Don't hesitate in asking questions. This is healthy. Aftermath. The interplay between different forms of overt conflict behavior and conflict handling strategies of stimulation or resolution influence the consequences. These consequences, okay, in terms of performance of the group, the level of satisfaction and quality of relationship in the involved parties, change of structure and policies, in turn, influence the antecedent conditions and probability of future conflict. Sometimes the aftermath shows the seeds of yet another conflict episode, in which case the entire process is repeated. Okay. So what is aftermath? What do you understand by aftermath? What does that mean? What is this aftermath? After effect. After effect. It means after effect. So sometimes, the after effects of conflict may give rise to another conflict. You just cannot rule out the possibility of that, right? Right? Am I correct? Please respond in the chat box. The four-stage conflict process model is a very useful framework to understand the episode of any conflict. On the basis of such a framework, you can define conflict as the process which begins when A, as one party, perceives that B, as the other party, is making some conscious effort to frustrate A in pursuing his interest. Suppose A is working in an organization and B is also working. Okay. Now B is doing something which is frustrating A. So obviously conflict is going to crop up, right? So party A and B may be individuals, they can be groups, anything. So Okay. Now, let's do one activity based on this and then different views about conflict we are going to cover. So activity, think about a conflict episode in your workplace between two parties about whom you have some knowledge. Okay. So you have to write about, a conflict which might have happened at your workplace. Okay. Okay. And you know both the parties up to some extent. What were the antecedent conditions? That means like precursors for those conflict to arise. What was the reason behind that conflict popping up? How does the two parties respectively perceive the conflict situation, and how this conflict was being seen by both the parties? Okay, what were their feelings? What manifest behavior showed that they were in conflict, and how you made it out from their behavior? What kind of behavior they were showing which helped you in making it out that they are in conflict? How was the conflict managed? What were the consequences? Fine. Is it clear what you have to do in this activity? If it is not clear, read it again and then write the answer. Everyone needs to write the answer, not some. Please. Is it clear? So Sanobar, Kelvin, Prabhavati, Racy, Fatima, Sandeep, Sarfaraz, Santhan, Sunil, Seher, Rashti, Erlin, Satish, Freestyler, Mohammed, Darshana, and Kiran, Mohammed, Nihal, Raisa. Okay, you have to write this down. Please write down the answer for this. Read it properly, and every part of the question should be answered. Please keep in mind this thing. If you are not able to follow the question, you can even ask me again. I don't mind. Antecedent conditions means precursors. Prehand. It means prehand. Okay. Something which made it pop up. Okay. Which give rise to that. Fine. Is it clear, Erlin? Is it clear, Erlin? I am saying precursor. Precursor. Antecedent means precursors. Beforehand. Fine. Beforehand. Okay. Everyone needs to write that answer down. Everyone needs to sort it out. Please write down the answers in the chat box itself. Okay, let me read the answers. I'll be back in 1 minute. I'm going to the washroom. So please excuse me for 1 minute. Now let me scroll it up so that we can see this later part of it. Now I hope you are able to see the board properly. Are you able to see the board properly? Everyone out there, please let me know in the chat box itself. Okay. At this stage, you might be tempted to ask quite a few questions about the role of conflict in groups and organizations. Can you avoid all conflicts, or are they inevitable? Inevitable means you just cannot stop it from happening. It is all good to have any conflict. Who is primarily responsible in allowing the conflict to take place? What should be the role of a manager once it arises? So it is going to arise again and again, and it's the role of the manager to sort it out. Okay, these are very important questions which people tend to answer in one way or the other depending upon the views they hold about conflict. These views about conflict itself are conflicting. Okay, so in this section we shall examine these views and their impact on management practices, the traditional views. Okay, so this is the traditional view, how this conflict was being perceived during early eras. Okay, the traditional view prevalent in 1930s and 40s regarded all conflicts as harmful and evil. So during 1930s and 40s, people used to consider it as evil. Conflict was viewed negatively and was associated with violence, turbulence, agitation, destruction, and irrationality. Okay, irrationality. It was believed that conflict indicated a malfunctioning within the organization. So during 1930s and 40s, it was being perceived as what? Malfunctioning within the organization, and that the appearance of conflict was the consequence of management's failure to bind the employees in the organization together. So during 1930s and 40s, it was considered as an evil. Okay, and it was, if there was a conflict, they used to term it as something malfunctioning within an organization. The organization and the employees are not able to bind to each other. That could be the reason behind conflict. This is how they used to perceive it during 1930s and 40s. And failure to communicate to them the commonality between the individuals and organization interests. Had the management corrected those lapses, according to the traditionalists, there would have been no conflict. So they used to put all blame on management, that they might have, there might be a conflict popping up between employees and the management might not have handled it well. That's why, this must be happening. If they would have tackled it during early stages, this would have not happened. Fine, everyone? Is it clear? This is how they used to view. Okay. And the organization would have been able to function as a smooth, integrated whole. So if there is a conflict, they are not hooked up together. This is how they used to be. In fact, Frederick Taylor, the father of scientific management, was of opinion that if the principles of scientific management were properly applied, then the age-old conflict between labor and management would disappear. The traditionalist view offers a rather simplified approach to conflict. Since all the conflict is bad and is to be avoided, then we need merely isolate the factors that cause conflict and eliminate them. So traditionalists used to say, okay, that if conflict, there must be reasons for conflict. Okay, so if we can eradicate that, eliminate that, there won't be any conflict and it's completely bad. This is what they have said. Okay, and it should be avoided because it is very negative. They used to view it as something very, very negative. Research studies have provided evidence to dispute this viewpoint, yet many of us continue to believe that conflict is unnecessary and is to be always avoided. Fine. So this is how traditional people used to view it. Traditionalists. This is how it was being viewed during 30s and 40s. Is it clear? Any questions so far? If you have one, please do ask me in the chat box. Do you have any questions? Anyone out there? Is it clear? If you have one, please let me know. Don't hesitate in asking questions. Conflict, someone has asked something. Wait, I'm going to see what has been asked. No, it hasn't. It has nothing to do with law, but how people view it. It's not like, if the conflict is a part of life. It is there in offices, it is there in personal life, because people are different. They have got different nature, they have got different views, they have got different perceptions, so conflict is surely going to be there, right? So you just cannot rule out the possibility of that. It's not law, it has to be resolved, otherwise it is going to cause destruction. That's it. Okay. See, everything has got Erlin positive and negative aspects. So see, conflict may become disastrous. Okay. It's not completely an evil, but it's not positive as well. That is what we can say. Clear, everyone? Yeah, it should be handled properly. The behavior school of thought argues that conflict is logical and inevitable outcome in any organization and as such should be accepted. The conflict theory was dominated by behavioralist approach from the late 1940s through the mid 1970s. Yeah, the behavioralists maintained that since an organization was composed of individuals and they had different perceptions of goals and differing values, conflict was bound to arise in the organization. So it's not an evil, it's, see, we should accept it that people are different, they have different views, so it is bound to arise. That's it. Manager of various departments had separate priorities and conflicting ideas about resource allocation. Okay, hence conflict was unavoidable outcome. Subordinates may clash with the manager over whether the work can be accomplished in the given period of time or not, right? They might even argue with subordinates at their own level over the best possible way to do a given job, right? This, according to behavioralists, conflict was an unavoidable outcome, but at the same time they believe conflict need not always be detrimental. Under some circumstances, it could focus on problems and instigate a search for better and more attractive, innovative solutions to problems. Okay, so it's not always evil. Sometimes it may lead to better solutions, right? And because of conflict, that problem comes into limelight, right? Right, everyone? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay. Though the behavioralists conceded that conflict could lead to more creativity in problem solving and could be beneficial to organization under certain conditions, yet they perceive conflict as harmful, something to be resolved once it arose. Okay. So up to some extent it can be positive, okay, but it has to be, if you are not dealing with it during initial stages, then it will be harmful. Their views about human nature was that people are essentially good. Trust, cooperation and goodness are given in human nature. According to the behavioralists, the major antecedent conditions which induce aggressiveness and conflict in people are faulty policies, okay, and structure resulting in distortion and breakdown in communication. So if there is a communication gap, it may lead to conflict. Hence, the manager role in resolving conflict is to restore understanding, trust and openness between parties. Now, so traditional view, you have to give 5 points about the traditional view, how traditional people used to view conflicts and how behavioralists they view conflict. You have to give 3 to 4 points for the same. Is it clear? You have to describe it in 3 to 4 points how traditionalists used to view the conflict and how behavioralists define it. Fine, everyone? So please write it down in the chat box. And do it in a point-wise manner, please. Kiran, I cannot see your responses. Are you able to follow me? As this is your first class, Darshana. See, you have to describe it in 3 to 4 points how traditional people used to view conflict and how behavioralists view conflict. Fine? Is it clear, Darshana? Okay, Kiran, are you able to follow me? Do you have any questions for me? Can you please write down the answer for this? You have to type the answer in the chat box. That how traditional people used to view conflicts and how behavioralists view conflict. Fine. How interaction is, view this conflict. That is present view prevalent about conflict. Okay. The thinking currently prevalent about conflict has been labeled as interactionist view. So what is prevalent today for conflict? The view. This is interactionist view. In contrast to behavioralist view, which merely accepts conflict as inevitable, the interactionist not only accept conflict but also encourage it. Okay. However, they maintain that conflict must be regulated so that it does not get out of control, producing dysfunctional consequences. The inevitability of conflict results from the interaction between organizationally imposed struggle for limited rewards. Rewards are limited in an organization, so that results, everyone strives for that. So it will result in a conflict. This is what interactionists say about conflict. Fine. And innate aggressiveness. See, we have innate aggressiveness. Being humans, this is our innate nature, right? By birth nature. And competitive instincts are also there, right? In people. Against this perspective, the interactionists maintain that if harmony, peace, tranquility, that is peace, and cooperativeness prevail in a situation for a long time, the group is prone to become non-responsive to innovation and change. So these interactionists say that if there is no conflict, it will be monotonous, okay, and people won't be open to innovation. They will become non-responsive to innovation and change. So for that, conflict has to be there to shake the group out of its complacency and to make it viable, self-critical and creative. An ongoing minimum level of conflict must be maintained. So see, small levels of conflict should be there, ongoing conflict. Otherwise, people won't accept creativity. They won't accept change. Advocates of interactionist view emphasize that mission of management is effective goal attainment, not the creation of harmony and cooperation. So, a manager's task is not to eliminate or reduce conflict, but to manage it in such a manner so that its beneficial effects are maximized. Okay? And its negative or harmful aspects are minimized. Fine. So it should be there for creativity, for innovation, but it should not turn into something disastrous. That's it. Such conflict management may even include stimulation of conflict, where absence of conflict may hamper an organization's innovation. Hamper means it is going to curb the innovation of the organization and creativity, and thus prevent it from reaching an optimum level of performance. Is it clear how interactionists see this conflict? Is it clear? So please write down in few points, how interactionists see conflict, and then we are going to wind up with this class, and we have another class after this. That is, we are going to cover a case study there. So just write it down, okay? And then this class is going to get you, and then join that class, okay? Please write it down, how interactionists see conflict. Kindly write it down in the chat box. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Don't forget to fill the feedback form. Just put genuine comments there, and the next class is going to start in 5 minutes. Okay, so please join that class. Fine. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.